So welcome to the Technical Steering Committee meeting for July 16th, 2025. We'll follow our standard approach of going through the agenda that was created in the issue that was tagged in the TSC repo. Before we get started, does anybody have any announcements they'd like to share?
I'd love for you all to take a look at the JS Conf in October. If you're a maintainer for Node.js, one of the core maintainers, give us a shout. We'll give you a discount code. There's also a collab summit the following day after the event, so should be well attended.
Good. I think also there were some, did I see there were some security releases that went out? Okay, so let's then move on to just a reminder to nominate people for the contributor spotlight, which hopefully will get going again. In terms of issues or updates from the CPC and board meeting, I don't think we have any updates from our representatives this week. So we can move on to the issue, which is dedicated partner sponsors page updates on the homepage 7909. And I think Claudio, since you're here, you open that one, so maybe you can sort of frame the question to the TSC on that one.
Right. Could you just share a link just so I
Sure.
recap on what that one is?
Oops, gotta make sure that
Oh,
goes to
Darshan was
everyone.
faster.
There you go.
Right. Do you want me to just go over what this is supposed to be or etc.?
I guess it's basically this was added to the agenda to okay.
True. It was added to the agenda because we wanted TSC consensus on this. Okay, I can definitely explain on that. So the idea behind this is to follow a similar approach as ESLint. This originated from a few discussions a few months ago with Michael that we could show logos of like small logos below the main action buttons of some of our partners, and those logos could just be static based on what we believe is more relevant for a homepage, or just randomized based on a seed so that everyone has a spot, doesn't matter what. And I also have a dedicated partner page. The partner page would pretty much, the idea behind is that you would have sections based on what sort of partnership they provide, like infrastructure, security, etc., like we have on the foundation partners page, but just the ones that are related to, Node.js. And then also another section just for the ESP program, which is the current way how, other organizations can actually support, both the foundation and Node project. Um, I also imagine that on the very bottom, we could also have another section highlighting both our Open Collective and also our GitHub sponsors, which are also other official means of direct funding the project. The section and the arrangement can all be discussed. My idea is that both the TSC, of course, has give some opinions as we develop the page, but pretty much will be a close-knit, collaboration with the foundation, marketing team, as I believe they have more experience and better understanding, how to structure the page in a way that, it's more attractive to anyone that is landing on the page.
Thanks, Claudia. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, I just wanted to add an update as well. As you recall, when we had the Sovereign Tech Fund, they helped us consolidate a lot of vendors. It was like an archaeological dig for us, going back 15 years of handshake deals. So whenever we onboard a new partner, we have a process that's documented in the CPC repo. I'll share a link. But we also have signed like legal contracts with these partners. So we can ensure that the free services that they generously provide are there for tomorrow and the future, despite any turnover that they may have in their open source programs office or whatever. And then we also provide guaranteed co-marketing with them. So we'll provide a case study, a couple of blogs, discounts on our events and any training, social media, and then kind of a guarantee of a prominent brand positioning on our website, for example. So when we do bring on a new partner, we do again like you to flag it for us, like Claudio has. We're in the process of formalizing existing partnerships with Sentry, Orama Search, Crowdin, and Chromatic. I think those are the ones so far. We're missing any. Please flag them for us. Kylie will help on all things marketing. I'll help on getting that contract with their executive team. And then Ben and Kate will help with IT onboarding.
I think my only comment to add would be we should make sure we don't miss the long-standing build supporters. There's companies who've given us significant resources for a long time, and I'd hate to see them be left out versus some of the new ones.
If you look on our homepage, our partner page, openjsf.org/partners, hopefully we've captured all of those because that's the one thing that we have done. So, and I can't remember if they're all Node, but we have DigitalOcean, we have Cloudflare, we have Fastly, we have Vercel, we have Microsoft Azure. I know I'm missing some and I have apologies, but yeah. So those are, again, good examples of where we worked with their leadership team. So we know that we, have an assurance that they'll be with us in the future.
Yeah, I just pasted the link to the build one where actually for a long time, we've done something similar with some logos and stuff that's being proposed. So just would be good to cross-check against that to make
Yeah,
sure.
let's do that. Okay. And then, then we have it in our PM tool to track and make sure that we're executing.
Yeah, I was going to say also that, on the build page, there's some of the sponsors there that are not listed on the foundation page, like ARM, Packet, and Intel, for example. I'm not sure if they were handshake deals or not, but I'm just mentioning that. There are also some handshake deals that we had, I think, already mentioned to you, Robin, with organizations like Sentry and Crowdin and others. I'm not sure if Ben is just a random off-topic question. I'm not
We'll
sure
get
if
it.
Ben
And
is already giving a
they're
look
good
into it.
friends and members. So we'll make sure that Mac Stadium is the other one who provides services for Node, and we do have an agreement with those folks as well. So,
Yeah, there's a couple that are maybe like Intel, I'm not sure is quite as like active, but like the open source lab, is that one that's on the foundation one? Because they've been a really important long time provider.
Nope.
Yeah, just because I think I mentioned before, Robin, that for example, Sentry, Chromatic, Orama, Crowd, and Sentry, we have only handshake deals with them. So maybe it would be worth maybe Ben or
Yeah. We've had overlapping vacation, but that's on it's in our team tracking tool right now for us
Awesome.
to do.
Cool.
So so we'll make sure we work with you and any of the project owners and make that happen. So
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So does anybody here have any concerns with moving forward with that? Like we've had some of these on the build site, but they wouldn't have had as much visibility. The suggestion is to put them on the main site, which seems like a good idea to me. But does anybody have any concerns? Okay, I see some nodding heads and some plus ones. So I guess in that case, let's just move on to the next issue, which is the dedicated EOL page number 7906. I guess, Claudio, you opened that one as well? I think in the end, like this was part of what we've discussed earlier around the link on the main page related to the Hero Dev initiative. And that I think is what we agreed would be something we'd work towards. This was probably created before that agreement. And
Oh yeah, sorry, I was muted. Let me
Yep,
just
go
open.
ahead.
It's a dedicated end of life page. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the agenda meeting agenda issue open, so I'm just opening things now. Oh, my mouse. So the dedicated end of life page will just be, since we have this blog post that Matteo posted together with Robin, and then just there are a lot of very good stuff there. But I felt that we could have a dedicated static page that just explains a little bit what is end of life, why end of life is bad, why we urge people to upgrade, and then having relevant links to, our ESP partners. So that, for example, the homepage button and the blog post and any other page that mentions end of life, for example, read more about, or end of life support or whatever, it will just actually redirect to this node.js.org/EOL, for example, page, so that we can also easily or better track on how many people are landing on the end of life page, but it's also better structured and specific for the people that are interested in understanding end of life and getting support into them. Um, and can you see an example of how this would look like with Vue's end of life page? Of course, that is specific page to a version. Ours would be a more generic, just describing, end of life in general, TSP program, and what current versions are end of life, so they can actually see, okay, what they need to do to upgrade and etc. Note that on both this issue and the previous one, what I'm asking right now is just if we are okay with the idea. Of course, as we develop those pages, all the relevant PRs will have the TSC being tagged so that we ensure that we only proceed with those PRs with consensus.
Matteo has his hand up.
Something that might be interesting to include, okay? Now, I don't know if this is on the plate, but might be showing what are the vulnerabilities that are not patched in end of life in end of life node versions, essentially. I think we have the data. So
Yeah. That's what I mentioned. On the page we can also render all the versions, like a table of all the versions that are end of life.
Yeah, but there's not. I'm saying something different. Okay.
Oh,
So
sorry.
we have a list of the vulnerabilities. Okay, that are in those end of life for that affect the end of life releases, and we could, highlight those things in.
We could. I just don't know. Maybe I need to ask for the security wiki if we have any API or page or etc. that can provide this data. Maybe Nitre has a page that allows us to just fetch per Node.js and then version. Then just, I don't know.
Oh, I think they are in our one. I think they are in one of our repos. We need really to.
They are in sorry?
In one of our repositories.
Oh,
Flip has his hand up.
I like the idea of highlighting the vulnerabilities for a particular node version. However, I'm not certain about displaying all of their details. Maybe just a number and their severity would be enough. If we're gonna have a list of end of life versions and not a end of life version specific page for every version, if there's just gonna be a table of versions that are end of life, then in that table it would be enough to just have the, high, medium, low severity issues that we are aware of. Maybe there could be a click through to the individual vulnerabilities if we have such a page, but to begin with, just the numbers should be probably enough.
I think what we could do here, let me just read your name. Philip, okay, sorry. The screen font size was so small that I wasn't sure it was Philip or Philip. So what we can do is render a table just with the Node.js versions and then a number of, red and orange and maybe another color of, this vulnerabilities, and then a button that opens a model describing a list with their title and CVN numbers and etc. And then maybe another call to action button to, go to the Nitra page or whatever with even more details. I don't know. But the idea initially on my head that I had was table, node.js version, code name, maybe the date when it was end of life, and then the last column is like pills, like with different colors, like for example, critical 15 ones, then high ones, like there were three. So it lists how many vulnerabilities of each kind that one has, and if you want to click on details, then it opens a model and shows all the vulnerabilities. How do we
Yeah.
feel about that?
That's pretty much what I had in mind.
Would these only be things that have published CVEs?
Yes,
Okay.
if that is the data that I can get. It doesn't matter if I need to read on a Markdown file or an API. If anyone can just point us to the source of truth that we can guarantee that it's there, we can fetch data on the website.
Okay. But we're not talking about publishing details for any vulnerability that has not already been disclosed.
I hope not.
Yeah, there's significant risk. I mean, I understand the motivation. There's just significant risk in us publishing details about vulnerabilities for versions when we know people don't upgrade.
Oh yeah. I'm not sure if it was implied, but definitely only the ones that were disclosed and fixed already.
I would imagine it would be using the same data set that the is my node vulnerable package is using, the one that
Okay.
you can invoke with npx.
Okay.
Yeah, it is for a discussion, but I can spin it off on the issue and ping some people because I actually have no idea who are the right people to ping on this. But yeah, I'll keep track on this, my personal.
Yeah, the only thing I would ask is in whatever documentation, whatever communication we have on this, we make it absolutely clear that this is already known vulnerabilities, already disclosed vulnerabilities. Because I can imagine, you're going to give some poor security team a heart attack if.
No, yeah, definitely. It's a good point that you brought up, and definitely it is not part of all. Like I don't have any plans at all to disclose things that were not disclosed.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess generally the ask was, hey, does anybody have any concerns with moving forward with this? So I'll just check that before we move on. Okay. So the next one is move the homepage security link to the banner. I'm just looking to see who added to this. Okay, so it was added to the TSC agenda a few weeks ago. I think this is just a suggestion on the website, right? I don't know if anybody has any more context.
That was part of the discussions around zero devs and so on and so forth that we did. I don't know, last June.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there was this question of we should move it to a banner or something like that, like over there.
Yeah.
That I think that was the reason for that thing. Claudio, I think you can.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that someone from my team actually added this to the TSC agenda. But pretty much the issue of the end of life issue or like supersedes this one. It's what I told when I was explaining about the end of life page. All the current banners for end of life and all the links in blog posts or homepage, etc., won't go to the dedicated end of life page. So yeah.
Okay, so basically it sounds like we should remove it from the TSC agenda and I'll leave it to, it's in the website repo, so we'll leave it to that team to figure out if they're just going to close it or whatever.
Yeah, and just at the end when we're in a private session, I was just going to share some web traffic numbers from our partners. I just didn't have permission to share that publicly, but then that will help you decide where and how you link to things, I hope, in the future as you continue to experiment. So.
Okay, so that sounds good. We'll move on to the next issue, which is the interim TSC election. I think it's on the agenda as info, but I guess at this point, James, you open that. Do you want to lead the discussion?
Yeah, it's there as info. We need to like actually schedule it. I put a proposed schedule there in the in the issue, but haven't had it. I don't think there's been any discussion on whether those dates make sense. In the proposed schedule, we're already past the day for beyond accepting nominations and starting the actual vote. So it'd be nice if we started the actual vote. But whatever process we want to have here, the intent was just to kick it off, and get things started. So don't know
Yeah,
how
so I think we're past the day for nominations, and unless anybody disagrees, I think we can consider we've got the nominations. There was some discussion of whether we should have multiple vice chairs or have a vote, so that might be something we need to decide before the vote kicks off. But
we need to figure out how do we want to decide? Do we just want to do this through the issue? Do we want to do it through the email thread and just decide among the TSC members how we want to do it? We obviously don't have a quorum here on this call, so we can't decide it here.
seems to me like just doing it through email would be able to make sure we've got like that we've got everybody and nobody's got any objections to doing whatever the proposal is, whether that's having a vote or having two.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can take. I actually don't feel right since I'm one of the actual candidates. I'd rather be the one that drive it.
I'm driving it, so
But you're also-
am
So
going to drive it. If it's fine, okay. It's I'm going to drive it, so let me do that. Perfect.
Yeah, I think that makes sense since you're the only nominee for chair, and then you can help manage the vice chair
Yeah.
decision. Okay, so that's I think on that one that's good. The next one is 1754, which is update charter with communication responsibilities.
Darshan left, so I'm not sure if he
Yeah, I think he did mention like let's just skip those two. So
I will say that we have two PRs for charter. One I wrote, one that Darshan and Jolie have been writing. The one that I wrote, as far as I'm concerned, it's ready for further discussion. No reason to defer it. Just looking for additional feedback and whether it's something to move forward. But if we want to consider both of them as alternative options, then yeah, it probably makes sense to have, we probably need to schedule a discussion specifically for this and have it early enough and make sure we have enough quorum to actually discuss it. Or we're just going to keep kicking the can down the road. So.
Unless anybody else has anything to add, we can leave it at that for today. Okay, so then the next one is let's talk about the CI situation. I think that looks like it was discussed in the early meeting last week. And there was agreement to post something which Darshan has, so maybe that's next up. I don't know if there's any other things that we should discuss.
Yeah, that's right. We discussed in multiple TSC sittings and then decided to see if anybody in the TSC is willing to champion that. Waited for many weeks and then now we opened up for wider community, not even the collaborators, wider community. So I think last week Darshan opened an issue. So we should wait to see if any interest is there.
Okay. Okay, so that takes us to the end of the agenda, and we do have some private business, so I suggest we flip over to the private section at this point, unless anybody else has something else to chat about. Okay, well then, thanks for everybody who's attended and watching on the live stream. We'll see everybody next week.